In Primus's name we pray. Amen. Jackie, you're about to insult a lot of people. Shut up, he's Robo Jesus. What do you expect?
Hey, Jackie, go screw yourself.
What the heck, man? It was for the joke. Hey guys, what's up? BC coming back at you guys again into the Transformers video review, and today we are going to take a look at the Transformers Studio Series 86 Commander Class Optimus Prime. Now, this is going to be a bit of an undertaking for me, specifically because the last video I did was Party Wallop, and that one, that was a figure that had like, what, 6-7 different modes, and that I had to figure out a way to record all of, and even then I kind of ended up having to cheat in the end, and even JJ in the end had to kind of cheat it to get it all done. So yeah, that was a bit of an undertaking on my part. This time it's literally a case of not only do I have to go through 2 different modes, I also have to go through the process of, well, for lack of a better term, I basically have to do all the in-between work with it as well. So with that stated, let's go ahead and actually do the first part of this being the trailer itself and moving him out of the way. Because unlike the Earthrise, where I literally just blitzed right through it because I really didn't care for the trailer on the Earthrise figure, this time around there's a lot more going on with this that I just overall I appreciate it more. So obviously we have the little stand right there. It allows it to stay up like that. Pretty cool, I would say. But there's a lot of other stuff that this is gonna do that I can't wait to show, because this figure is amazing and I really want you guys to see this in its full effect. So first things first, obviously there's the trailer standing up on its own, and as you can see, clearly enough, there is some serious majesty here. Now that said, if we come underneath here, these little parts flip and fold out, and these are going to accommodate for when we go to open this up, and that is new. There we go. Can you tell I hadn't done this in a while? So yeah. Now, pop this open, and all this just folds open, and there is the entire inside of the trailer. And this is already where we're going to start really getting into one of the many reasons why 86 is superior in basically every single way. First things first, for the Commander class price point, we actually got a roller this time. Kind of sucks that he doesn't launch out, but you know, the fact that he's here at all makes me very happy. So let's go ahead and roll him out real quick. The fact that he went down the ramp as smoothly as he did, like, give him some points there. That was really, really awesome. So there's Roller. We have these little blast effects. The Energon Axe. Right over here is the rifle, which this I will actually go ahead and pop out now. Or you know what, let's go ahead and pop out everything so that we can actually show it all properly for when we go to do the rest of it. Now, I'm mainly only showing these features first entirely because, well, the repair mode, that makes more sense for when Prime's in robot mode. So we're just gonna go ahead and focus on everything for the battle station mode and go from there. So at this point, this thing can fold up, and another thing with this that I really appreciate, for one, this pops open, and in there, I don't know if it was actually fully shown off, but you can fit a Diaclone pilot in this, or at least something small enough that'll actually fit inside of that. You can drop them in there and they will sit in this. That's that type of attention to detail I genuinely love. So there's that. Let me actually go ahead and extend this up a little bit more so you can see this properly. Because the other thing, the blast effects can actually peg in right here. So you can actually have the blast effects firing from the repair drone. So this all will now come down. This is one of the reasons I actually kind of hate bringing this out, because I can never fully remember. Oh, well, never mind. I got it in on the first try. Now, when you get it, it comes packaged with this completely separate. Ultimately, I don't think it's gonna matter, because as soon as you plug him in, he's gonna stay there for basically the rest of his life. But now let's get into some really neat stuff with Roller here. So getting this back and bringing Roller back in the frame. Whoa, jeez. Can you tell I'm a little too excited to do this? So Roller can actually utilize Prime's rifle. You know, and that's cool and all. The rifle, obviously, it's got the port right there. Blast effect, pew pew, you know, whatever. But, you know, the fact that that feature was retained, pretty awesome in of itself. Now, one thing I definitely want to double check here real quick. I'm not 100% sure if this was shown, but if memory serves me right, you can have Roller tow the trailer. Can this version do it? Absolutely he can. So yeah, the fact that this functionality is here at all, this makes me very happy to see. But one more thing, and this is actually going to require me to bring Prime back in. If you come back here and you pop this piece forward, this whole thing opens up and you'll see a bunch of orange little parts in here. These, to get it properly set up real quick, these will tab in to 2 square slots right here, and these are meant to replicate his big final charge in the 86 movie. And this is honestly, for a one-shot deal, this is kind of cool. I really dig this. I don't hate this even in the slightest. I think this is really cool. I'm not normally the biggest fan of blast effects, but in this particular instance, yeah, you kind of got me. This is kind of a really awesome blast effect accessory deal. So yeah. Now give me just 1 minute so we can get this all cleaned up, and then we'll come back and, well, we'll start gearing up for the transformation. There we go, all cleaned up. Now, before I go into the transformation, I will mention here, the trailer does indeed hold some smaller Autobots. The only other smaller Autobots I am saving for the robot mode comparisons, so I did not decide to kind of condense them down into their vehicle modes just to show off this one thing. Especially when it's, well, it's Optimus Prime. I don't think it's going to matter as much with him as, say, Ultra Magnus, whenever I get around to doing him. So with that stated, here is Optimus on his own, and you know what? I'll do one comparison here where it's an actual physical figure. So here is the 86 Optimus Prime, and here he is compared next to 86 Ultra Magnus. Now, one thing I'm going to mention here real quick. Due to the way this transforms, I've always felt that this cab seemed a bit small for everything this toy did. Like, as far as its transformation is concerned. However, comparison for comparison, right next to this 86 Prime, he's barely any smaller. And I feel this is a rather large Optimus figure. So the fact that the cabs, size-wise, compare fairly well, it definitely kind of helped me, I guess in a way, appreciate the cab on Magnus a little bit more. Especially given the fact that this Magnus doesn't do the armor up gimmick, which honestly, I've grown to kind of prefer that. It's less parts to keep track of. So with that said, there is the Ultra Magnus comparison, and through the utilization of JJ's absolutely awesome editing work, getting 86 Prime over here real quick. There he is with the Earthrise leader class figure. And there he is with the Siege Voyager. You know, the Prime figures that I felt mattered the most for this comparison. So with that said, let's go ahead and finally get to what is going to make you actually care about buying this toy. There he is in his absolutely spectacularly gorgeous robot mode. All of the cues of 84 Prime is on full display here. Like, you know, JJ, please don't put the thing here yet. Like, just let me cook on this for a minute. Look at the proportions on this. Look at the way this thing just looks when it's just standing there. I do this kind of stock, bog standard pose for every figure I review. Tell me how. I haven't even gotten into the articulation on this thing yet. And already, just from a visual perspective, this thing genuinely hits every note possible, where it is perfect across the board. Aesthetically, absolute perfection. All of the tinier little details that basically make up his robot mode is all represented in full here. Now, granted, obviously this is a transforming figure. There are going to be some imperfections. You gotta learn to compromise at some point. And for the amount of compromises this does for the sake of the transformation, look at how damn near glorious this robot mode looks. So with that said, let's go ahead and actually finally slide him over real quick. I normally try to show gimmicks and such first before I do anything like major with the comparisons, but for this particular part, I'm gonna go ahead and do comparisons first. So there is 86 Prime, and now, JJ, if you could, here is, over here, the 84 animation model. And I can't see it right now, but when you guys see it in post, you'll see side by side how much this 86 Prime just hits every possible note. It's absolutely gorgeous looking. That said, to kind of stop gushing a little bit, let's actually start talking some toys. But before I get any of the actual physical figures that I want to show this off with first, here he is with the Siege Voyager, and here he is with the Earthrise Leader. All three going for very different aesthetics, all three going for very different looks. But at the end of the day, if you're going for 84 Prime, there is no doubt in my mind, 86 Prime, the 86 Commander class, this is the one you need to get, bar none. So with that said, let's actually finally get into the figures that I want to show him next. We start first with 86 Bumblebee. And overall, I do feel this scale is correct. He should be significantly larger than Bumblebee. And for what it's worth, you know, these two are part of the iconic six. Laugh, I can talk. These two are part of the iconic six. So obviously, these two are gonna show up together in some way, shape, or form. So it only makes sense to do that here as well. Whoa, easy there, BC. Here he is with United Wheeljack. As you can see, I'm pretty sure it's obvious why I wound up choosing to keep the 5-pack version of Wheeljack, because they kind of match. Here he is with a possible tease for the future, that being the BC Resurrection Prowl. And you know, this all in all is a very good looking set. Here he is with the United version of 86 Jazz, where it's none of the clear plastic. And as one can clearly see, this looks right. This just looks right. Here he is with 86 Ironhide, which, you know, this is one I personally felt needed to happen entirely because of the fact that, you know, it's Ironhide and it's Prime. These two have always kind of had a kind of a, you know, close relationship, close friendship type of deal. Like, at least for me, it's always been that way. So yeah, also, I did some things with the Ironhide. So, possible tease for the future, maybe? The comparison that drives my OCD up a wall. As one can clearly see, the Earthrise Megatron is way too small in comparison to this Prime. In my own headcanon, Megatron is taller. So, here's hoping that when the 86 Leader Megatron comes out, that it's either going to be in scale where he at least looks this Prime in the eye, or when that one drops, it's going to at least be some level of taller through some engineering black magic. If I had to take a guess though, probably eye to eye. The last robot mode comparison for the night is between these two, Ultra Magnus and Optimus Prime. And there is something that I do definitely want to do for whenever I get around to doing Ultra Magnus's review. And it's entirely due to, well, how both choose to handle one specific aspect between them. And you know what? Hold on. Give me just one moment. There you go. The 3 Matrix Bearers, for what it's worth. All of that said, let's finally go into the other gimmickry that this can do. Starting with this first, because I always forget about it because of just how commonplace it is now. He does indeed have the Matrix inside of him. It's the same mold we've been getting. There you go, I showed it off. Let's move on to the more what I feel is the more important stuff. So first things first, he has the very, very nice articulated hands. I love seeing this on retail Transformers. He can indeed hold his rifle. Now, unfortunately, this really is not the best grip. Took me a couple whacks for the sake of the camera, but yeah, trust me, he will drop this thing if you give him the opportunity to. So there's the rifle in his hand, and you know that's nice and all. But mainly over here, let's go ahead and pop this arm open, flip this around, pop this back closed, bring the axe over, and now another win over the Earthrise. He has the friggin' Energon axe, and it comes bog standard with him. Yeah, you can definitely tell I'm getting a lot more bang for your buck out of this purchase than I ever would of the Earthrise leader. And it's not to say the Earthrise leader was bad, just, you know, for what I wanted it to come with, this is obviously giving me a lot more of my money's worth. So there you go, there is the Energon axe with him, which makes me happy to see. Now, one final thing that we can do with this has to do with the trailer. So give me just one moment. And with the absolute magical snap of my fingers, we now have the Matrix in its repair mode. And as you can see, you can set Prime right in there. And the fact that the Amazon listing of him pictures him doing this, at this point, there's no getting away from it. And at this point, you could definitely really see up close and in person all of the detail that they put into the trailer. Obviously, Roller's not in there. He's right here. The gun has a little slot that it goes into right there. Yeah, all in all, this is just an absolutely wondrous amount of stuff that this Commander class figure can do. And when we get to the final thoughts here in just a few, I'm going to end up saying something that I can guarantee you is going to piss a lot of people off. I can almost guarantee it at this point. So let's go ahead and finally clean this up a little bit, and then we'll finally get to what is one of my personal favorite segments, the articulation. Okay, now we start at the head. Now the head is on a ball joint, but it's a very limited ball joint, which is a slight bummer. But you know, he gets enough of what he needs, so I'm not too mad about it. The shoulders get a full rotation in and out, and to my surprise, a butterfly joint. This I appreciate a lot. Like it's not even meant for the transformation. It's a articulation point that is strictly made for the robot mode, that is not there just because of how he transforms. So with that stated, he has a bicep swivel, which is neat, but unfortunately, he only has a single jointed elbow. Due to the way all of this works, I can kind of understand why we don't have a double jointed elbow. Does it suck that it's not there? A little bit. But ultimately, is it a deal breaker? No. And should it ever be a deal breaker? No. That's where I stand, and that's where I'm ending it there. So he has a wrist swivel, and as you clearly saw when it came to the gun, he has the articulated fingers. So unlike the other two figures, he can do the thing. The thing that matters to me when it comes to a Prime figure, he can do, and it makes me so happy. Now, the waist, he only has a waist swivel. Kind of a bummer, but, you know, I'm more than willing to accept just a waist swivel if it means we're going to get a figure this solid. That said, he has hip skirts that move forward and move back to allow for hips that move forward and back. So he can indeed, sorry Bobby, I'm kind of stealing your bit. He does indeed do the full Monty, and he does indeed do the full Van Damme. Again, I apologize, Bobby. I stole your whole flow. Anyways, there is a thigh swivel. Wow, my brain went bleh there. Anyways, yeah, he has a thigh swivel. Look at how deep of a knee bend he has. It almost makes you wish the elbow could do the same. Anyways. And the ankle tilt. So, pretty box standard, not transformation, pretty box standard articulation. All in all, nothing like horrible. But, you know, kind of makes me wish he could do just that little bit more. But if anything, it should go to the strength of the figure, that I wish he had more articulation because of just how dynamic he looks. Like, this was just a simple pose I put him in, and he kind of rocks it. Alright, I think I've had my fun. Let's go ahead and get into the final thoughts. Alright, here we go. Final thoughts. Let's talk about the negatives. There are some aspects of the articulation that I genuinely wish was there. For instance, the double jointed elbow, the ab crunch. It would have been nice if his feet could pivot forward and back. You know, that would have been nice. All of the crazy awesome articulation that is here, it really makes you wish those were there. And just due to all of the tricks that his transformation pulls off, he still kind of has a bit of a backpack, but even then, I'm not going to complain about it too much because, to be completely honest with you, that is, like, complaining about the back of the figure is dumb. Like, it's so dumb. Also, this happens with every single video I ever do. These little slots in the gun can actually latch onto his back. So you can store the gun on the back if you so want to. C'est la vie. That being said, I really do wish that there were some articulation points here that are not here. But at the same time, the points that matter to me the most, they are here. The transformation, like I said, all the crazy cool things it does, it's still not perfect. There are some things that I wish this did to clean up a little bit more, if you know what I mean. But again, it's mainly just due to how beautiful this robot looks. So yeah, all in all, this is definitely a pretty solid figure, especially when we start getting into the positives. Actually, well, before I get into the positives, the flip over heel pieces. I know it bugs some, so for the sake of the negatives, I will mention it. Me personally, doesn't bug me whatsoever. So with that said, this figure is simply spectacular. All the articulation points that are here, absolutely slap. The transformation going from truck mode to robot mode is so ridiculously buttery smooth. I flip this thing back and forth constantly when I first got it. It is such an awesome transformation. The fact that it actually made me give a shit about the trailer, like that's gotta mean something at this point. The thoughtfulness with it, like how the roller can still do some functionality, how the repair bay is still fully functional, how Optimus can interact with all forms of the trailer, how Optimus can actually open up the Matrix chamber. The way the articulation works allows him to do iconic poses like this point. There are so many good things with this toy, to a point where I know that this is something that is going to piss a lot of people off. When I did my MP44 review, I said as a standalone figure, he was a platinum seal purchase. But strictly as a transforming figure on his own, or for the price you had to pay to get it, he was a silver seal at best. Again, that doesn't mean the figure's bad. It just means you had to pay a lot to get it, and for what you got, really didn't feel worth it. This is a commander class figure. It doesn't come with nearly as much as the MP44 does. This is leaps and bounds better than that in every single possible way. It's a much more enjoyable purchase. It's a much more enjoyable toy. It's a much better figure overall. To a point where I am awarding this what would be considered my version of a 9 out of 10, the high platinum. And this is its grade across the board. This is leaps and bounds better. You cannot get any better than this. Do I recommend this? Absolutely. If you can get your hands on this, absolutely pick this up. With all that said, guys, I've taken up enough of your time. This is BC saying stay near to get your geek on. I'll talk to you guys next time.